We call him Rules Kunkel, I guess you could say, because he just really knew the rules well and was almost a perfectionist in trying to call a game and making sure that he knew what was going on at all times.
A rule is a rule. That's right. Goes back in? No. If it doesn't touch anybody, it comes back out. It's a fair ball. Oh, yeah, it's a rule.
Bill Kunkel's a guy that has been around a while. He was here when I first came up to the big leagues. He's a take charge guy. He is a leader.
Okay, he's out. Thank you. Okay, Bobby. Bobby. All right, Bobby, that's enough. Come on. I'm coming up with you. I'm telling you what to do. You're starting some... He's going to hit twice. I don't care. You're not even involved. Let him argue.
Bill Kunkel was never a guy to back out of a fight, especially when he got into the biggest battle of his life.
Why me? Why did this whole thing happen to me, Bill Kunkel? I'll never forget that day the doctor told me I had a tumor in the colon. And he said there was 95% chance it was cancer. I thought I had only 2 weeks to live. I figured after that, I'd never see anybody I cared about again.
Bill Kunkel and I were both in the training room in Minnesota, and I told him, I said, I got to have an operation, Bill. I think, I think I tore a ligament or I broke a couple of bones in my hand, and he was sitting there and he didn't say much, and then he got up and he walked over to me and he says, well, that's not as bad as the news that I just heard, and he told me that he had cancer, and I felt kind of lucky at the time. I could have had Reggie take a full cut and hit me right between the eyes. It just knocked me for a loop. My mind turned right away toward my family, about the kids going to college, seeing them grow up. Little things came to mind, just little trivial things. Who was going to cut my hedges? It's crazy.
He broke the news to me that he had been to a doctor in Minneapolis and had been told that he had a rectal tumor, and it was a good chance that it was malignant, and possibly that it had spread at that point.
The word cancer right away shot a pain right through me. I felt like crying, but I was more in trying to help my mother ease it a little bit in telling me, because I could tell it was hurting her to tell me about it.
Bill called us all together, the whole family, and told us he loved us very much, and that if the Lord took him now, it would be okay.
He said he'd lived a whole life. He had done what he wanted to do. He pitched in a World Series, and he'd umpired in 2 World Series, so he had a full life. And if that was his time to leave, then that was what was meant for him.
My father really started with me when I was back in Little League, really. He tried hard as he could, harder than any father I saw to get to the games.
You want a little more rotation. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to throw harder, but you want the ball to pop out of your hands. And that's what gives you the life on the ball, to dart, including your curveball.
What made it more important was that the fathers would be around the area and they wouldn't go see their son play. And my father would be thousands of miles away, and he'd come to see us play. We'd go to the game, we'd be ready to play, and all of a sudden we'd see him in the stands standing there. And that's the greatest feeling you can have, knowing that your father's at the game.
Bill Kunkel grew up in Hoboken, pitched in the minors, served in Korea, and finally joined the Kansas City Athletics. After 2 years, he was drafted by the Yankees, but now he was a family man. He had to reassess where he was headed.
Toward the end of my career, I took everything into consideration. I had my shot at making the big money. I didn't do it. I just happened to be the 26th man on a 25-man roster. I had the ability to make the big leagues. I didn't have the ability to stay there. And my wife, she suggested, she says, Bill, why don't you become an umpire? I said, you gotta be kidding me. Bill Kunkel become an umpire?
Bill Kunkel grew to love the role he once scorned. After his training, he started again in the minors, and soon he was back in the big time. He became one of the most respected and colorful umpires of the American League. Things were going well for Bill, until that day in September 1981.
Bill Kunkel sought treatment for his cancer of the rectum as soon as it was detected. He was admitted to the hospital, had a major operation.
As a fellow of the American Cancer Society, Dr. Thomas Gouge spent part of his residency studying the operation he used on Bill Kunkel.
His operation did not require a permanent colostomy, and Bill now has normal intestinal function and is functioning as well or better than the rest of us.
Bill felt glad to be alive. He did a lot of fishing and tried not to think about baseball. He thought he might have to slip into semi-retirement or work at something more sedentary.
Dutch, remember what color we caught the fish on, because then we'll just change the rest of the lures to meet that color. Did you talk to the commercial guys, find out where the fish are? They've been getting them on the incoming or outgoing tide?
Top of the tide going out.
I did push my body a little bit to get in shape and just get the oil, as you would say, in an engine, just starting to get fluid in my body and get my muscles back in tone a little bit. Go ahead, shoot. Oh, Thomas. Oh, so out of shape.
We were concerned at the start. We weren't sure that Bill would be able to step right in. In fact, I think we talked to him about maybe not coming back quite as soon and taking more time, but he was convinced that he was able to do it, and his doctors told him that he was able to do it, and it's just amazing to me the strides that have been made in fighting this disease. I'm sure a decade ago he probably wouldn't be alive today.
The day I first came back to work was probably the only day you'll ever see an umpire cry. Baseball is the greatest feeling I've ever had in my life. Getting to the park early before the ball players even get here, sitting in the stands, watching the ground crew do their work. It seems to build up like a locomotive going downhill, you know, and here it comes, it's coming to a pinnacle. Boom, national anthem, game time. You were safe.
I know I was.
You just, boom, like this. Don't listen to him.
I wasn't listening to him.
When I first heard about it, I was very surprised that Bill Kunkel was still on the job. 2 weeks ago, we were in Kansas City, and it was 135 degrees on the AstroTurf out there, and Kunkel was behind the plate. And I tried to tell him, don't go back out there for the 9th inning, because I could tell the heat was really getting to him, but picked his gear up and walked right back out on the field.
There's so much that can be done for people, and Bill Kunkel is living proof of that. This isn't like sitting behind a desk. This is a man out there on a ball field, 9 innings, 2.5 to 3 hours every day.
Beautiful night tonight.
This is the prettiest day we've had here for probably a month and a half.
Since I've had the operation, every day is the prettiest day in the world. Every day.
You know something, Bill? You wouldn't be such a bad umpire if you weren't so ugly. You know that?
Thank you. Appreciate it. This is my 15th year.
That's good pension.
Not bad. Not bad.
You'll have enough to burn a wet mule.
Oh, yeah. I just bought a herd of cattle last Sunday.
In earlier days, the primary goal in the struggle against cancer was to increase the number of people who survive through drugs, radiation, and surgery. Now we are focusing on the quality of survival. We're trying to enable people to live life to the same full extent that they could before they were stricken.
Save! Save!
Bill Kunkel probably appreciates life, appreciates his job, appreciates people, and appreciates just being able to get up and see the sun come up and go down.
I'm alive today because over the decades, millions of people have supported the research and services of the American Cancer Society. More and more progress is being made every day, so if you support the American Cancer Society, that progress will continue. Prior to the operation, I used to get into an argument with a player, and in 1 minute I threw him out, and now I'm a little more tolerant. I throw him out in 2 minutes.